Good, happy Wednesday evening, August 28, 2019. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. Let's begin. First up, Governor Sununu. Officials discuss DMV review following crash that killed 7. Review comes after Randolph crash. Let's watch some of this video and listen in.
There. Okay. Great. Okay, good afternoon. We all set? Is everyone good? Great. Well, good afternoon. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. On June 21st, 2019, Massachusetts driver Vladimir Zukowski caused the death of 7 motorcyclists in Randolph, New Hampshire. And obviously, words cannot express the grief that we all share with the loss of those 7 individuals. And the tragedy, without a doubt, struck each and every one of us in a very profound way. After the crash, it became clear to all of us that there were interstate communication breakdowns between other states, and I immediately ordered an in-depth review into the procedures and processes within the New Hampshire DMV, which was already going through a long-scheduled system upgrade, and we're here today to go over those findings. We left no stone unturned. We accounted for every file and every notification. It's our job as public officials to go through these reviews to ensure that the systems that we have in place across the state truly work for the people that we represent. What we've learned through the process now allows us to both challenge and assist other states as they hopefully undergo the same exercise. We've identified several long-term and immediate solutions to streamline processes within the DMV going forward that the team will detail for you in just a few minutes. And then we'll take any questions that you may have. And now I'll turn it over to Safety Commissioner Bob Quinn, who will go over what the review really looked like. Commissioner?
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon. Following the crash of June 21st, Governor Sununu ordered an in-depth review of the current Division of Motor Vehicles processing, supporting driver licensing. In conducting this review, my office and the Division of Motor Vehicles conducted a complex examination of every process and procedure that involves the transmission or receipt of notifications regarding resident and non-resident driving privileges. The review, which has been provided for your reference, summarizes our findings, the records processes at the DMV, the immediate steps taken to improve processes, and long-term plans for improving procedures used by the division when processing these notifications. During this review, no stone was left unturned. While we can say today that there is no current notification backlog within the New Hampshire DMV, that was not always the case. The review uncovered a long history of New Hampshire DMV manual processing falling behind. This dated back decades. It became clear that there was a history of not being able to catch up on time. No single individual was responsible. This pattern of tardiness dates back to prior administrations and commissioners. The DMV has now eliminated that culture. Governor Sununu has instructed the DMV to not accept any more backlogs, and the Department of Safety and the DMV will be sending the governor monthly reports on updated numbers to hold us accountable moving forward. The department and the DMV have been working to permanently clear backlogs as part of a multi-year ongoing plan. This process began more than 2 years ago with the installation of Vision, an updated electronic record system that allows for automated entries of these records. DMV staff have always continued to work on these notices, and these notices were never abandoned. DMV Director Elizabeth Balicki will now take you through the results of this review. Elizabeth.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon. I will start with an overview of our manual workflows. The DMV manually processes about 167,000 paper records submitted by other states, local police departments, and New Hampshire courts annually. Some of these records could result in a suspension of driving privileges and must be carefully reviewed and entered into the Division of Motor Vehicles Electronic System of Records, which is called VISION. At any one time, there are more than 100,000 suspended driving privileges managed by the DMV, with driving privileges being both restored for some and suspended for others each day. Please direct your attention to the manual workflows diagram. This diagram represents all paper processes that require manual entry into our system. The numbers listed within each process represent the approximate annual volume of transactions received. Starting on the left, the items in the green. Those represent what we refer to as non-actionable workflows, or workflows that would not result in a suspension of a driver. Examples of these include accident reports. While our records are updated to indicate that a driver has been involved in an accident, the accident itself does not translate into a suspension of a driver's license. Moving on to the items in blue. These represent what we call actionable workflows. These items have a direct impact on a driving record. For example, not guilty pleas. These are motor vehicle citations received from individuals with a plea of not guilty. This would be someone receiving a speeding ticket, sending it to the DMV pleading not guilty. The DMV's entry of the plea will result in the citation being forwarded to a New Hampshire judicial system for trial. The last two items depicted in red represent actionable workflows that were backlogged at the time of our review. These include the workflow of New Hampshire court default notices and notices of convictions, defaults, and suspensions received from other states. Let's get into a little bit more details on the backlogs. If you turn to page 11 of your handout, on the left, you will see data regarding New Hampshire's backlogs. On the right, you will see what has been released publicly regarding Massachusetts records. As Commissioner stated, our review included all of the existing processes. We started with SIDless and noted 62 unprocessed electronic transactions. As a result, 7 suspensions were processed. Next are notices from other states. These related to New Hampshire drivers who were convicted or suspended in another state. We had a backlog of 13,015 paper notifications dating back to September of 2017. As a result, 904 New Hampshire residents were sent a suspension notice. When it comes to New Hampshire notifying other states of convictions, defaults, and suspensions of non-residents within New Hampshire, we determined that we were not sending notices to other states since July of 2016. While we were current in the processing of those transactions within our system and reporting those items to the individual drivers and electronically reporting them to the Problem Driver Pointer System, or PDPS, and the National Driver Register, we were not notifying other states via the paper process. As a result, we have generated and mailed paper notices going back to July of 2016, the last time we have a clear record of paper notices being sent to other states. 13,912 notices were sent to other states. Of those, 6,437 reported the suspension of non-resident drivers to other states. New Hampshire court defaults. 9,232 in-state court defaults were processed dating back to July of 2017. These related to both criminal matters, such as criminal trespass or shoplifting, and motor vehicle matters such as unpaid speeding tickets. As a result, 1,508 suspension notices were sent to New Hampshire residents, and 1,433 notices were sent to non-residents. Once we have completed the processing of each of these backlogs, we cross-reference the resulting suspensions against the New Hampshire fatal accident records. There were no New Hampshire fatalities connected with the suspensions resulting from these backlogs. At this point, I'll turn it back over to the Commissioner. Commissioner?
Thank you, Elizabeth. Following the crash, the governor requested immediate action and solutions. The following steps were taken. We accelerated our timeline to clear any remaining backlog of notices that potentially impact driving privileges. We created a new process that allows Vision to generate paper notifications to other states for non-residents who are convicted here in New Hampshire. We provided additional training to our current staff levels to continue processing notifications and handle the expected increases as other states work to reduce their own backlogs and provide notifications to the New Hampshire DMV regarding New Hampshire residents. In partnership with the judicial branch, we are developing a new system that allows for the electronic transmittal of judicial branch records to the DMV. We are currently redesigning the online ticket payment system to improve plea by mail, payment processing, and begin electronic acceptance of not guilty pleas. And we're exploring a means of automating filings from insurance companies that will allow proof of financial responsibility to be provided electronically in order for drivers to retain their licenses. Additionally, last week I traveled to Omaha, Nebraska to attend the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators annual conference to meet with the AMVA leadership. I did personally meet with the president and CEO of AMVA, Ms. Ann Farrow, and the incoming chair of the AMVA Board of Directors, Ms. Whitney Brewster. We discussed the need for them to streamline and to unify the processes across the nation, the importance of AMNA's continued efforts in rolling out the state-to-state to all jurisdictions, and the need for consistent and uniform policy regarding driver and non-resident violators. Also, I urge them to replace the driver licensing agreement, driver compact, and non-resident violators compact with one single, clear, and concise agreement. I assured them that the department will work with them to see these efforts through. Thank you. Governor?
Thank you. The last piece here, and then we can jump into whatever questions folks like. I want to review some of the more long-term steps that I think we've reviewed and absolutely think we need to and can take. And I also want to take this moment and just say the fact that we've been able to address, this team has been able to address in just 60 days every backlog issue this state has is terrific, frankly. It shows, I think, their dedication to assessing the issue and all these different workflows. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of different notifications that had to have been reviewed, and the fact that they will get down to the number, to the individual on each one of these backlogs has been great, and I think has allowed us to move forward with a lot of confidence in knowing exactly what needs to be done, what holes needs to be filled, both legislative, regulatorily, within the states, and actually be a leader nationally in terms of understanding what the message has to be and be that assistance to other states as hopefully they all undertake these processes. One of the first things we want to really address are the initial legislative changes that have to be made to truly allow the interstate system to work. Right now, our interstate electronic system is really only for, I believe, Real ID. Folks that have gone through the Real ID system, we have to essentially break down that barrier, if you will, and allow all of these licenses and notifications, interstate notifications, to truly be processed across state lines. The next thing you see there is really the automation. So that's the implementation. Once we get the legislation done, making sure that we can actually implement it the right way. And again, it's not a matter of millions of dollars of funds. We do have funds available that can allow these processes to move forward. The bulk of the system is in place, but then you got to make sure that you've worked out the bugs, it's really working, and you get that true connectivity with all other 49 states in the country. we're going to really continue to roll out the e-ticket and e-crash system. So one of the biggest backlogs we saw was the fact that a lot of local municipalities still don't work on an electronic system with the state. We have about 35 right now. I think Nashua is going to come online in the next couple weeks here, which is pretty exciting. And making sure that they are part of our system so that, again, a lot of this is them mailing up their paper notifications that creates a bit of a backlog that have to be individually and manually addressed by the folks at DMV to get them on a true in-state system with both e-ticket and e-crash. It's worked very well for the departments that have come on board. We'd like to see all of the departments across the state ultimately get on board, and that's going to free up a lot of individual time and manpower within the Department of Motor Vehicles to make sure that we can stay right on top of all of these issues as we move forward. Automating the manual processes. So we still have other manual processes. The court system, how the courts relay their default notifications to us right now is very much a manual process. Again, there's no existing backlog today. We're going to make sure there isn't one going forward. But as we get that to an electronic system, it's obviously going to save countless hours and be able to allow us to respond virtually immediately to a lot of those issues that come to bear. And then finally, the last thing I'm really asking DMV to do, we've already started banging around some ideas, working with the legislature, and really look at a full comprehensive review, all of our rules, all of our regulations, see how other states are doing it, where other states might have had successes, where other states have had pitfalls. We're just going to go into a full comprehensive review of anything else, basically, that we need to make sure that either our backlog issue doesn't happen again, or, again, where some of the systems can be updated, can be addressed. I'm excited by the fact that we're in a good place today, and that going forward, I think we're always going to be challenging ourselves simply to how to make it better. I guess with that, we can take a step back. We can answer any questions from folks.
Okay, and there you go on that press briefing that happened earlier today. If you want to watch the rest of that, we will have a link for you on the Riley King Network Facebook page. Triple E found in horse in Northwood. Risk level raised in surrounding towns. A potential deadly mosquito-borne illness has been found in a horse in New Hampshire, health officials said. Eastern equine encephalitis was found in a horse in Northwood, officials said. In response, health officials have raised the risk level for Triple E in Northwood to high, and surrounding towns will increase from low to moderate. There have been no human cases of Triple E identified this year in New Hampshire. The illness can cause serious neurological symptoms and death. A woman in Massachusetts recently died of Triple E. Officials urge residents to take precaution against being bitten by mosquitoes, including wearing long sleeves and pants, avoiding being outside at dusk and dawn when mosquitoes are most active, and using insect repellent. Northwood settles lawsuit over arrest of man thought to be in U.S. illegally. ACLU filed lawsuit after 2018 incident. Let's take a listen to this video from WMUR News 9.
This morning, the town of Northwood will pay more than $12,000 to settle claims that the police department illegally arrested an Hispanic man they thought was in the country illegally. It happened back in 2018 when Johanny Velasco Perea and two other men were detained while walking back to work. The department's police report called them Hispanic and suspicious. Velasco Perea had a valid North Carolina driver's license on him at the time and is in the country legally. The department has since changed its policies.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. New Hampshire State Police aim to keep roads safe over Labor Day weekend. Troopers say they want people to change driving behaviors. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9, Ray Brewer.
Aaron, the colonel of the state police, says in this area they see speeds averaging 85 miles per hour. And it's not unusual for troopers to pull someone over who's doing in excess of 100 miles per hour. That's one of the behaviors they're looking to change as they appeal to the public. In addition to speeding, troopers say the biggest problem they see, impaired driving. According to the New Hampshire Office of Highway Safety, 57% of drivers involved in fatal crashes last year tested positive for drugs. And distracted driving continues to plague the state's highways as well. The colonel says they need to change the culture so that drivers see that driving is their primary, not secondary activity.
When I was driving over here, somebody behind me was tilting the head back in the car and dropping Visine drops in their eyes, with their eyes completely diverted from the road. Moments later, I have a car pass me on the right-hand side, traveling much faster than the speed limit, unsafe lane changes, and following too closely. And I stopped that car, and we had a nice opportunity to sit roadside and to really engage in him.
And the colonel says that that's what this campaign is really about, educating the public so that they change their behavior when they get behind the wheel. Reporting live in Windham, Ray Brewer, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Please, everyone, drive safe and focus on the road when you're behind that wheel. Senator Kristen Gillibrand drops out of 2020 presidential race. U.S. Senator Kristen Gillibrand announced Wednesday she was ending her campaign for president. In a statement on Twitter, Gillibrand said, "I am so proud of this team and all we've accomplished, but I think it's important to know how you can best serve." And now let's take a look at your U.S. stock market and see how your U.S. stock market closed for this Wednesday evening. And here's a look at that U.S. stock market for all of you for this Wednesday evening. Your Dow Jones Industrial Average closed in the green and went up. Your Nasdaq closed in the green and went up. S&P 500 closed in the green and went up. Gold closed in the red and went down. Oil closed in the green and went up. US 10-year closed flat. Euro/USD closed in the green and went up. And VIX closed in the green and went up. Dow rises more than 250 points. Energy shares get a boost from oil prices. Stocks rose on Wednesday as the energy sector got a lift from higher oil prices, but sentiment was kept in check with a key part of the U.S. yield curve inviting even further exacerbating fears of an impending recession. Female driver and TV host Jess Combs dies attempting to break land speed record. Professional driver and TV host Jess Combs died in a jet car while attempting to break a land speed record in Oregon, officials said. And that does it for this Wednesday evening edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your Wednesday night, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Good night.